Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Arash Farhaz bin Muhammad Zailani. I'm 20 years old and I'm studying in Negeri Sembilan. And today I would like to present about our glider, Maznah 1.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Naim bin Azizul. I'm 20 years old and today I'm going to present about gliders.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amirul Najwan bin Amiruddin. I am 20 years old and study at University Kuala Lumpur Malaysian Institute of Aviation Technology, Negeri Sembilan, and currently at SEM 4 Diploma of Engineering Technology of Aeroplane Maintenance.
Hi everyone, my name is Muhammad Ali bin Rosli. I am studying in Negeri Sembilan. I study in Diploma in Aeroplanes Maintenance. I'm 20 years old, by the way.
So I would like to explain about the definitions of the glider. So according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the definition of glider is the one that glides such an aircraft or similar to an airplane but without an engine. According to Cambridge Dictionary, the definition of glider is an aircraft that has no engine and long fixed wings and flies by gliding. According to Collins Dictionary, the definition of glider is an aircraft without an engine which flies by floating on air currents. So moving on, I would like to present about the history of glider. So according to Wikipedia, the first successful heavier than aircraft were unpowered gliders. In 1853, British engineer George Cayley built the world's first real glider. It carried his terrified servant on a short flight across a small valley before crash landing the glider. Later in the 1890s, Otto Lilienthal of Germany built a series of small aircraft, fragile gliders. Launching himself into the wind from high places, he made about 2,000 controls flight in them. Lilienthal had read about George Cayley's and spent many works studying the way birds fly and glide. Lilienthal's glider inspired many other earlier pioneers of flight, including the Wright brothers. Lilienthal died in 1896 after being injured in a gliding accident. Next, the sport of gliding began in 1920s. Today's glider have a thin, tapered body or fuselage and very long, narrow wings. This design allows them to stay in the air for hours at a time, soaring on currents of rising warm air called thermals. A glider has no engine of its own, so it needs help to take off. A glider has many of the same parts as an airplane, which is fuselage, the wings, control surfaces, and the landing gears. But there are significant differences in this part on a glider.
So I'm going to talk about the Schleicher ASK-21. The Schleicher ASK-21 is a two-seater mid-wing with 17 meter span and is designed by Rudolf Kaiser, which is one of the most important sailplanes designer of our time. The other two-seater has turned a larger number of students into solo pilots, and no other glider has carried more new pilots through their first flight and cross-country training to competition flying. The backbone of every club is reliable fleet to training aircraft. With the ASK-21, instructors get a training tool that puts enjoyment and fun back into flight training. This unpowered aircraft can naturally occurring current of rising air in the atmosphere to gain altitude. Also, sailplanes are aerodynamically streamlined and so can fly a significant distance forward a small decrease in altitude. So just like I said, the wingspan is 17 meter. And it can go till 280 km per hour. The weight is 360 kg and the length is 8.35. Talking about the benefits, the presence of the elevator and rudder gives a better lateral and longitudinal stability control. The asymmetrical of the airfoil of the wings gives a better laminar flow of the wind during airborne time.
So the example of the glider that I want to talk about is DG Flugzeugbau DG 808B. History of this glider: since 1996, the focus of production at DG Flugzeugbau in Brussels has been the DG 800B, a self-launching motor glider with a wingspan of 18 meters, with the predecessor introduced as early as 1994. This version of 800 model with the 54 horsepower solo 2,625 engine has already sold more than 300 units. Now it has been updated and flies under the name DG 808B. Motor gliders are equipped with a propeller which may be fixed, feathered or retractable. The pilot needs to cycle the propeller to let it spin. However, jet engine powered motor gliders are now available from some manufacturers, some of which are intended for only use as engine sustain. For example, for sustaining gliding flight rather than as self-launching aircraft. It can either operate without the propeller or with the propeller together. So the length of this glider is 7.06 meters with the wingspan of 18 meters, and the aspect ratio is 27.4. And lastly, the maximum speed of this glider is 270 kilometers per hour. This motor glider design benefit from longer flying duration as the wingspan longer configuration gives a better lift force of the glider. This is because drag created during the production of lift, known as induced drag, can account for a significant portion of the total drag on a glider. One way to increase the efficiency of a wing is to increase its aspect ratio. They produce less drag for the amount of lift they generate. And the faired cockpit gives a smoother outline and reduce the drag when it's taking off and flying.
I will be presenting on the glider which we have picked. So the glider we have picked, which is the Rupert Archaeopteryx. So the history of it is it started off being only as a research project since 1998. Okay, so this glider has been improved over and over ever since its maiden flight, which is around September 2001. This glider can accommodate pilots from 165 centimeters to 195 centimeters in height and 55 kilograms to 100 kilograms in weight. Okay, so the aircraft uses flaps for glide path control, which also functions as air brakes when put in certain angles. The aircraft built is so well thought of that even the pilot can launch it only by running on foot to kickstart the flight. Okay, so the length of the aircraft is 5.7 meters. The wingspan is around 13.6 meters. The height of the glider is 2.9 meters, and the wing area is around 12.8 meters cubed. Okay, so the glider design advantage is the extended winglet tip improves the efficiency of the glider by reducing the drag by partial recovery of the tip vortex energy. Okay, so the wingtip devices can also improve aircraft handling characteristic and enhance safety for following glider. Okay, so the aircraft uses flaps for glide path control, which also functions as air brakes when put in certain angle, as I just mentioned just now.
So this is the finalized version of our glider. We concluded because the presence of the elevator and rudder gives a better lateral and longitudinal stability control. The extended winglet tip improve the efficiency of the glider by reducing the drag by partial recovery of the tip of the vortex energy. Wingtip devices can also improve aircraft handling characteristic and enhance safety for following glider. Longer flight duration as the wingspan longer configuration gives a better lift force of the glider. This is because the drag created during the production of the lift, known as induced drag, can account for a significant portion of the total drag on a glider. One way to increase the efficiency of a wing is to increase its aspect ratio. This produces less drag for the lift they generate.
So, the purpose of the gliders. There were three purposes of the gliders that has been identified for this gliders project. The first one is to identify the suitable wingspan and wing length. The second is to measure the suitable length and design for the fuselage. And the third is to identify the suitable gliders control surface. Research question. There were three research questions for this study. The first one is what is the suitable wingspan and wing design for the glider? Second is what is the length and design for the fuselage? And the last one is which design is suitable as glider's control surface.
So we go to the chapter 2, which is the preparation of the glider. The introduction. This chapter explains on how the glider is prepared and the overview of the tools and materials used to build the glider. This also includes the procedures on building the glider. So first, the preparation. A simple sketch was made as a guideline for the glider build.
In order to create this prototype, there are several tools. Which one of it is a knife, which is the function of the knife is to remove the material from the workpiece by means of shear deformation. Okay, it also helps to cut the aerofoil into shape. Okay, we also use sellotape. It is used for joining, sealing, attaching and mending the parts together. Okay, we have a scissor as well, which is used for cutting various thin materials such as paper, cardboard, metal, foil, clothes, and ropes and wire. And lastly, we have ruler, which is used to measure or draw straight line.
Alright, I would like to explain about the materials that we use to build the glider. First, we use a styrofoam. This is because the material is lightweight and easy to handle. We use styrofoam to make the glider body. Next we use is hot glue gun. We use it to attach the wing and other control surfaces to the fuselage. We use hot glue gun because it provides much better fitment and attachment compared to a normal glue. Lastly, we use a coin. This coin is meant for the weight of the glider.
So, talking about the procedures. This chapter explains on the procedure of building the glider. Step-by-step procedures aided with pictures is important to ensure that the glider is perfectly built accordingly to the preferred idea. Figure 3.1 shows that materials and tools have been prepared.
Step 2. Pencil and ruler have been used to measure and mark the design of the glider body and wings on the polystyrene. In step 3, the polystyrene has been cut using cutter according to the design drawn.
Step number 4, we have the wings, the elevator, the rudder and the fuselage, which has been trimmed off perfectly using the cutter, the knife. Okay, we also on the fifth step, the wing has been attached to the body part at a suitable center of gravity to ensure it is stable, and the elevator together with the rudder. Hot glue gun and cellophane tape were used to attach the parts together.
Next is step 6. Final touch-up has been done. We basically trimmed off some of the part of the aircraft to make a smoother finish of the glider. Step 7. After the glider has been assembled and trim off and touch-up has been done, it is ready to be tested. So we have come to the final topic of the glider, which is conclusion. So we made 3 attempts of the glider flight test and we came up with results and data. This is for the purpose of the glider research to improve the glider itself. We come up with some recommendation and conclusion of the glider itself.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we're gonna fly this glider. We're gonna make 3 attempts and we'll see how far this glider can go. Let's go.
On the first attempt of our glider's maiden flight, the distance of the flight is around 3.4 meters. On the second attempt, we have the distance of the glider, which is 4.1 meters, and lastly on the third attempt we got around 3.7 meters.
So the conclusion, based on my pre-test flight, which is yesterday, the glider have been flown quite smooth, but it still needs to be added with some additional equipment to make the glider more efficient, which is from the wake and wing area of the glider. Over the course, I have been learned after getting the result that glider better fly with the nose to be weighed down, and also the wing structure of the glider needs a larger area to make it more stable and more sustainable.
So, the recommendation, the glider have to have more chamber at wing to have more aerodynamic for the glider to glide further. Thank you.